personal injury attorney licensed in California and Texas with a background in appellate law and criminal defense, civil rights law, and I still do police shooting cases and tight handcuff cases and stuff like that, but I pretty much only represent military veterans who have been involved in catastrophic motorcycle accidents, big rig truck accidents, people who have had their kids run over in a crosswalk and that kind of stuff. And then I donate my time to come on YouTube and talk about things that matter to me, about current events, about natural law, and our unalienable rights as Americans. And I was on a few minutes ago, and it looks like we had some problems with the cell tower connection. So I'm hoping that some of you guys will come back. But the bottom line is just really quickly, because I want to go to the gym. I'm in the parking lot at Powerhouse right now. I wanted to break down really quickly what happened the other day on John Filax's show with Meyer. So Lane calls in a couple of times, and it's a hassle because John's got to enter in his credit card info. So I think by the third time of Lane calling, he finally was able to get through to John, and John was able to successfully get his credit card data entered in. And because of that, he talked to Lane for a little while. And so I have some theories about what happened and why the call was disconnected, which we'll get into in a minute. But what ended up happening is Lane talked about the procedural posture of his case, that he's trying to find a way to get the judge dismissed because he thinks the judge has violated his substantive rights with respect to speedy trial, with respect to hearings and discovery and being able to depose and interview witnesses. In particular, Lane is pretty ticked off that he was promised when he was originally incarcerated that he would be allowed access to the law library. And now, through the grapevine, through connections that I have from within and without that courthouse itself, and again, I'm not licensed to practice law in Arizona, so I'm bringing this to you as a private citizen, it appears that the judge as well as the prosecutor knew that there has been no law library at that jail for at least 2 years. And so I was shocked. If true, I could see why Lane would be so angry. Good seeing you, Ryan Labs. I mean, if you were being incarcerated and you were promised by the court that you would have access to the law library and you knew that you were representing yourself, wouldn't you be a little angry and upset and think that the judge was dishonest and probably want to get your pound of flesh, for lack of a better word, with your words? I would, sure. If I was promised, yes, you will have access to the law library, telling people that in open court and then finding out later that there's been no law library in that jail for at least 2 years, and that any legal research that he was able to do was online and being monitored by the jail officials. I mean, how does that allow you to prepare your case? I mean, so obviously he's been hamstrung, and in my opinion, he's been denied substantive rights here, not being able to prepare an adequate defense. Really, really a shame in my opinion, the way the prosecutor has handled this case so far. And I can see why Lane is angry. Now, I know a lot of you guys think that Lane's crazy. You don't like his outbursts and all that. And, look, I don't agree with a lot of his stylistic issues, but that's not what matters to me. What matters to me is that he's an American. He's a free man upon the land, and he's not an attorney. And I'm very, very impressed with his substantive knowledge of the law. And whatever he lacks in procedural skills are covered under Balistreri versus Pacifica Police Department, which is a Ninth Circuit case. I believe it's still valid law. And if you shepherdize it, you'll find Arizona cases on point. And in essence, what that case says is that the Court of Appeals has a duty to ensure that pro se litigants do not lose a fair hearing on the merits of their claim due to ignorance of technical or procedural requirements. And so, yes, it's a federal case, but it has to do with federal due process rights. And there are state cases that are on point in that very judicial district that I've been able to find by shepardizing the law. So, hey, Rami, good seeing you. Hey, Salt Shaker. Too bad we lost Jody Shiloh. Yeah, guys, so I'm in the parking lot at Powerhouse Gym and just going to go in and try to get a quick workout. I took my creatine powder and my gamma aminobutyric acid, and glutamine, and I had some pea protein, and I'm just getting psyched up to go train. And I'm thanking my creator that I have the ability to do that, and that I'm not locked up in some jail like Lane. And my wife and I have been praying for Lane. I know Lane's not a religious guy, and I'm not really a religious guy either, but I believe that my rights come from a creator, and I thank my creator every day that he's given me an opportunity to help people like you and Lane. So, Salt Shaker, I'm really happy you joined me. So, hey, look, my hair's been turning gray thinking about what's happening to Lane, because if it can happen to him, it can happen to you too, or your son or your daughter. And so, anyways, Lane is locked up right now, and he took issue with the court and sort of raised his voice, and the judge was threatening him. I'm not going to let you represent yourself anymore, yada, yada, yada. Kicked him out of the courtroom. And then ultimately, according to Lane, he was beaten up by several of the correction officers in there for, I guess, in his words, and again, I'm paraphrasing, but I guess these overweight corrections officers were angry at him for popping off to the judge. And so they decided they would get their own jailhouse justice, and I guess they were punching him and asking and like basically egging him on, come on, punch me. Let's while he's handcuffed, of course. Let's do this right now. Let's handle this, And of course, Lane is a non-violent guy. He's not a violent dude. I don't even think that he really likes firearms. I think he's somebody that if he had to handle business, he would probably handle it with his fists. That's my impression of him. Whereas me, yeah, of course I believe in being able to defend yourself, but I also believe that you should be able to defend yourself at 7 to 10 yards, especially when the attacker has a knife or a gun and they're trying to harm you or your family. So you've got to be able to have the ability to defend yourself in all respects. Now, let me see here. Ryan Lab says, I got an invite to be at the signing of the right to repair bill into law to help get passed. I go to the Capitol on Monday. Right on, Ryan Labs. Good seeing you. Good seeing you too, Mr. Osgood. So just really quickly, so John's on the phone with him, and Lane's talking about how, he gets kicked out of the courtroom. The judge then tries to get, what is this guy, Attorney Resnick, the new advisory counsel to Lane, to take over representation. And Resnick doesn't take the bait. He basically says, no, this is Lane's case. I'm just here as advisory counsel. God bless this Resnick guy. And if anybody knows how to get a hold of Resnick, I'd love to talk to the guy. And I'm not looking to get any fame out of you or anything. I'm not looking to get you on my show, Mr. Resnick, but I certainly would like to find out more about what's going on and to find out ways that I can help raise money for Lane and his wife. I know the prosecutor says that it's not his wife, but I don't believe that being someone's wife or spouse depends on a government contract. I believe that your marriage is consecrated by the Lord, not by the state. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree. And so I definitely would love to talk to Resnick and find out more about ways that Team MPE, even in an indirect way, without bringing publicity, could help Lane and his family. Because I think the government likes to try and lock people up, throw them in jail, and try to find a way to break up families to force a plea deal. And I disagree with that. I think it's really wrong. It's not justice. And then we see what's happening with Letitia James and all these George Soros lawfare prosecutors who went after Trump, all guilty of far worse crimes and felonies than the trumped-up charges, like that trumped-up charges they brought against Trump, which are all going to be reversed on appeal, by the way. Unfortunately, the Democrats bring cases in D.C. and New York where it's 90% Democrat juries who hate Republicans, and they use that to get convictions against their political enemies. And hopefully that will stop. There's a case before the Supreme Court now that will give you the right to make a venue change. I mean, how terrible is it that in Washington, D.C., it's like 99.99% Marxist Democrats who are voters and jurors and welfare recipients, and they're the same people who are going to be deciding cases against Republicans who they've been trained to hate since birth. So, of course, they're going to get convictions against them. So, Randall says, I just introduced you to my friend who is an Army Ranger. Special Forces 101. Okay. Well, so I'm not sure how that works, but I know that Army Rangers, I know that I have a friend in the 75th. They're not special forces, but they're hardcore, man. I love those guys. And then special forces would be Green Berets, so they're force multipliers. Then 101st would be similar to what like a typical Marine Corps infantryman would be. They have very similar training, except that we're not jump qualled unless we go to jump school. But my experience has been that Rangers and the airborne units in the Army are very highly disciplined, very similar to Marines as far as their discipline. And so I have utmost respect for those guys. But you know, it could have been part of that whole, oh, right on, Brandon. Arrah, Lance Corporal, kill! Arr! See, I hope you like my PFC chevron on Brandon. So my paid subscribers all get a PFC chevron. PFC in the Marine Corps anyway. So he's got the scarlet and gold chevron. And I'm sorry that you're suspended. And thank you for purchasing a membership, Brandon. You guys rock. I appreciate you guys supporting my channel. That's pretty cool though. Right to repair. We're going to talk more about that, man. We need to bulldoze DC. That's right, Rami. Gosh, we sure do. And guys, just by the way, I'm a libertarian, so I don't really like either political party. I think the more division we have in Washington and the less laws that are passed, the better for us. We already have the supreme law of the land. We don't need more. The idea behind the Constitution was to limit government, not to give it more power. So how do you like them apples, all you Marxist Democrats? You probably hate that, don't you? And then to a lesser degree, you Republicans. But man, I am so glad we don't have tampon machines in the boys' room, and we at least have some kind. Remember this, guys. The reason people voted for Trump isn't because they like him. They voted for him because they don't think that men should be competing in girl sports. They don't want perverts pretending like they're women playing drag queen story hour with their public school kids. Parents don't like that shit. Maybe you perverts in San Francisco like that shit, but us parents don't like it. So that's why people voted for Trump. Just remember that. They didn't vote for Trump because they love him. They voted for him because they realize that you guys are completely off your rockers. When you say you're here, you're QU, whatever, and you're coming for my children, that means that I'm going to do whatever I can to make sure you never see a political office again. So that's what really happened there. And so, let me see here. Shared on X. Thank you, Speak Lifeguard. They were going to send him to Alaska. Wow. Oh, I know what you mean. Yeah. Well, so that's one thing. Look, I got to tell you something about the Marine Corps. They don't promise us a rose garden, and we join just because we want that Eagle, Globe, and Anchor. And we don't care if they send us to Alaska or Mars. We just want to be a Marine. The other branches, not so much. You join the Army, you join the Air Force, you join the Navy, you join the Space Force, you join the Coast Guard, but you become a United States Marine. And it's true. You know, anywhere I go, when I meet a fellow Marine, and I can usually spot them, even if they're not wearing a Marine shirt or not have a Marine bumper sticker, which is pretty rare to see a Marine that doesn't have a Marine Corps bumper sticker. But I can spot them by the way they walk, by their bearing and discipline 99% of the time. So, but Rhine Labs, we need to talk more about that. We should do a show about that, because a contract is a contract and it should be honored. I'm not putting down the other branches. I'm just saying that we have a little different mindset when we join the Corps. I didn't want a GI Bill. I knew they offered the least benefits. I just wanted to be a warrior like my father before me. And give me a bunch of ones if you're of that same mindset as well, guys. So just really quickly, because I want to go train. I can feel my protein drink and my gamma aminos and all that are kicking in. So, and I took vitamin B12 injection. And remember, don't get the cyanocobalamin, get methylcobalamin, because cyanocobalamin is cyanide. So you want methylcobalamin if you're going to do B12. Hey, good seeing you, Contempt of Cop. God, I love all these names. Contempt of Cop. Hell yeah, man. Anyways, really, really quick, guys. I keep getting sidetracked. I can't help myself. Yeah. So Lane Myers. So, and by the way, give me a bunch of ones and shouts out to John Filax. What a stud, man. That dude is a natural, and I have nothing but accolades for John. The way he handled Lane last night, he's such a great interviewer, a billion times better than me. And I just really think that he's a special guy, and I want you guys to make sure to go and like and subscribe to his channel and let him know how much you appreciate him. Now, Speak Life, I believe that is Lane Meyer's attorney's name, Resnick. And if I'm wrong, someone correct me. But, well, his advisory council, I believe his name is Resnick. And thank you, Media Baum. Yeah. I mean, John Filax is just awesome, man. I mean, besides Chili DeCastro and guys like Reluctant Prophet and This Is a Public Service, I think that I just think that John has the bearing and discipline to be like a professional newscaster if he wants to be. But he also can fly off the handle if he needs to, and I appreciate that about him. Yeah, please do Speak Life Garden. And I'm also, hopefully I can get someone in Lane's family to help me set up a fundraiser for him. And again, guys, I'm not one of these guys who sets up my own link to try to raise funds and then give half to the person or that. I'm going to make sure that all the money goes directly to Lane and his family through their own sources. I'm not going to get involved in any of that crap. I don't need their money. I need the spiritual well-being of knowing that I did what was right the way my father reared me, to make sure to put other people first. And it is a little advice for you guys who want to make money in life. You want to make money and be successful. Do a good job and the money's going to come. Just do your best and go the extra mile for other people, and money will just come. And by the way, it's not money, it's fiat currency. But you know what I mean? Like, if you do a good job for other people are going to do a good job for you. And there are exceptional people out there like Chevy, like Rami, like BZ Watchdog, who will give you the shirt off of their back. And so I just want you guys to remember that. And just do what's right. You'll know. I call it the Holy Spirit, but you'll know if you've been called to do something, and you'll feel it inside you, and you feel like you have no choice, because if you don't, then you'll have negative energy. So the more positive things you do to help people, that spiritual energy will help you become a better provider for your wife and kids if you're a man. So thanks, America First. And yeah, I think Filax is awesome, Clark. And thanks. And by the way, there's no like button, so make sure to double tap that screen and make sure to save. And I'm going to try to do some Public Servants Gone Wild videos later today if I can. I was going to go live yesterday, but I went to the gun range the day before, and my arms and fingers, because I haven't been to the range, consecutively in such a long time. I don't know if you guys know, like, when you're holding your arms out and you're doing all that stuff especially manipulating handguns, racking the slides. I mean, my hands are so sore right now, and my whole body's aching, and I didn't have water out on the range, so I got dehydrated. So I was like, you know what, I got to just take this time. I'm going to watch Filax, and then I'll try to go live today. So that was the promise I made myself. Yeah, me too, Ryan Labs. We'll figure it out. So just always double tap. Yeah, make sure to save too. And then, yeah, income is profit derived from capital, which only applies to corporations. And we know that, Diesel, for We the People News. You're talking to an old school patriot who was doing this stuff and protesting driver's licenses long before a lot of you guys were even alive. So it makes me chuckle when I see people try to tell me what the law is, after I've been beaten up by police and have had my cameras stomped before we even had cell phone cameras. My friends really were the originals that started this whole movement. And I found you guys again years later on YouTube, sort of picking up where I left off with your cell phone cameras. So in any event, Lane's calling from jail. He's talking to Filax, and Filax is asking all the right questions. And it appears as though there's going to be a hearing to get this judge that he's currently before disqualified. Now, although I'm hopeful that he'll get some kind of relief, at least emotionally, I don't think a new judge is going to change things much for Lane. I think that the fix is in, and I think this is a case that will likely only be won on appeal. Unless he has a judge that has some serious cojones and is willing to put his balls on the line. Remember, most judges are former prosecutors, and they rely upon recommendations from the state bar. They go to state bar meetings where they have all these prosecutors and defense attorneys and their own little group of people who raise money for them to run for judge, for example. So in my opinion, it's a very political thing. And in most states, they're either going to be appointed by the governor or they're going to be voted for, or a combination of the two. Like if there's a vacancy, the governor will appoint them. Highly political creatures, judges are. And they're taught to be real, to sound like a sports announcer, sort of, the way they talk, to sound like they're being fair and impartial. But I'll be honest with you, some of the stuff that I saw happening with Lane, I felt was unfair, and things were wrongly decided, and it just made me feel bad for Lane. And I understand that Lane doesn't have all the vocabulary down and that he loses his temper, but I also understand he has good cause to lose his temper based upon a lot of the shenanigans that I saw. So I agree with you, contempt of cop. Yeah, you too, Rhine Labs, man. And Edward, don't pay any attention to Merb. That guy's such a piece of garbage. I mean, the bottom line is I wouldn't even pay any attention to the guy. I think he manages like a storage facility. Then in his spare time, if he gets lucky, he's able to get some hourly work doing family law cases. The guy doesn't know jack shit. I externed for the California Court of Appeal. I've been a lawyer for over 20 years. Before that, I was a paralegal. And I don't sit there and insult people and attack them without any knowledge of the law, other than me telling you, oh, how about that? How about that? I had a steak and a glass of wine last night, and in the meantime, I was able to sell some storage facility contracts. I mean, give me a break, guys. The guy doesn't even act like a lawyer. He acts like a complete buffoon. And I challenge you officially to a trial by battle, Merb. If you ever want to prove how much of a man you are, let's do it the old way. We'll go to the all thing, and we can do a trial by battle the way that our ancestors did it, and we can see what a complete jackass you are in front of the world. But anyways, with respect to Lane Myers, so Lane, he definitely knows the substantive law, and he definitely he's got issues like we all do, and unfortunately, that's what we're left with. And so we have to go with what we know. And what we do know is that his heart's in the right place. And that my impression of Lane is that he's a caring person. He believes in nonviolence, but he's also very bombastic, and, he's very, very dogmatic and opinionated, and that's fine. And I have many times, Christopher. He's a complete piece of garbage. Let's stop talking about that guy. He makes me sick to my stomach because he's an embarrassment to the state bar, in my opinion. So, anyways, with respect to Lane, as he's talking to Filax, he gets into what happened to him as far as him getting attacked by these guards, by these COs, these corrections officers. And so he says, we need the body cam footage. We need the body cam footage. So Filax says, give me their names. Give me their names. So Lane starts giving Filax their names. And within minutes, it goes silent. And I don't think Filax caught it, but I did. Because the same thing happened with Chili DeCastro when he started talking about his abuse in jail. I think what happened is the call was being monitored. And when Lane started mentioning the names of the COs, they shut down the session. And so, mark my words, this is what I predict. I predict when Lane goes back to court, he is going to be hit with some kind of a charge or a violation of prison regulations for mentioning the CO's name, for live streaming. They're going to say that he was live streaming, which is a violation of whatever restriction, whatever vague and ambiguous restriction that they have from jail. The judge is probably going to try to deny him his ability to self-represent, and we're going to start right back from square one, because I believe that the court and the prison system there appears to be looking for a pretextual reason to disentitle Lane from representing himself. So that is what I think is a private citizen. And I'm very, very concerned about Lane, because I think that if he could be a little bit more relaxed, and I know it's going to be hard, but if he could be a little bit more relaxed and not so aggressive, that I think that he could sway a jury quite easily and win this case. Now, my concern is that even if he wins at trial or gets a mistrial, he will, if it's a mistrial where, he gets a jury nullification vote or something like that, he'll still remain incarcerated awaiting new trial. And I think that the end game and the end goal of the prosecutor as well as the courts there appears to be that they want a plea bargain. They want to silence him just the same way they silenced Carolina in Fort Worth, where she could have just done an extra couple hours in jail, and she could have gone right back out into doing her own job, her own business. But instead, the judge basically forced her out of there, or the prosecutor, and got her an early release, right? And basically a plea deal that she would not live stream or go back at her regular job. And I'm just seeing this pattern. If you're effective at holding the government accountable, the government will do whatever they have to do to silence you. And so I think it is, Gloria. It's a sad situation, and I'm really, really concerned. And yes, he could overturn the conviction if he's deemed unfit to self-represent, but it would be again, you're waiting for the appellate courts or going up on a writ or an interlocutory appeal on a question of law alone, all these different issues. And it could be, as long as he's incarcerated, the state still is winning. So keep that in mind. Anyways, guys, I'm going to go work out. I'm really glad that you guys joined me. I'm sorry it couldn't have been a little longer. I just wanted to cover this stuff because I didn't get to go live the other day. And you're right, Christopher. Christopher says, I think Lane Myers knows the law better than the judge and the prosecutor, and that's why they don't like him. Well, I think that he certainly seems to know a lot more than 99% of lawyers that I've ever met. And I think that if he could be more civil, I think that he wouldn't be incarcerated. I think that it was his personality and argumentative nature that landed him in jail, because it's easy to justify to a jury who is fickle that this guy's a crazy person, even though he's not. Just the same way they treated John the Baptist like he was a crazy person, the same way they treated Jesus Christ like he was a crazy person, in the same way that they treated Sir William Wallace, Braveheart, like he was a crazy person. It's easy to justify incarcerating someone who comes off unlike what society tells you is normal. And so as a lawyer, I always make sure to defend those people that society may not consider normal, because normal isn't what the law is about. What the law is about is protecting the rights of the individual, the one, not the many, not the mob. We're not a mobocracy. We are a constitutional republic where the rights of the one matter more than the rights of the many. Because the minority can't have rights if the one doesn't have rights. Remember what I just said. And that's why I can't vote Democrat. So let's get into this. You're right, Aunt Pisano. Just like Judge Zimmerman, she didn't know anything about the law, and only the defenders. Well, I can't get into that, but I'm not going to disagree with you on any of that stuff. And then Harvey Freebird got arrested last night. Oh, that's terrible. Well, Gloria, I will cover that as well later. I just have to get a workout in. I am absolutely burned out. I am fried. But I appreciate you guys supporting my channel. I think I'm almost up to 50,000 subscribers now, which is pretty amazing considering I only had like 3,000 subscribers when I first started out, when I was helping Chile. And I really just give you guys all the credit. I try to bring you information and news and try to couch it in a way of a libertarian. And it looks like a lot of you guys like it. I'm glad Harvey's out. Wow, look at that, 47,000. Well, help me get up to 50,000 subscribers, guys. Make sure to share my stuff. And again, thank you for the super chats, and thank you for the buying of the memberships and buying my book. Buy my book about how to become a lawyer with no law degree or undergrad. You can get that by going to my YouTube description page and clicking down and going to the PayPal link. I have like 6 or 7 new purchases in the last 2 days. Guys, don't cancel your orders. I'll go this weekend and I'll fulfill those orders. I do everything myself, other than helping with posting videos. I got my kids helping me with that. They're helping me with the titles and the description. So don't be mad at me. What's the matter, you? Sometimes my daughter messes up on the description. She mislabeled one video as a shoplifting case when it was really check fraud, and Wassa got all over me, man. What's the matter, you? Hey, and I don't see Wassa in here today. So guys, if What's the matters you is upset at me, tell him I apologize for mislabeling because I need you in here, bro. You're my alter ego. You're my guilty conscience. If you're not here, the spiritual energy is not there. So make sure to double tap that screen. Make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to save, because we never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel. Have a terrific weekend if I don't hear from you this weekend, guys. God bless you and Semper Fi.